Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be talking about the cards that I think should be reprinted in the Pokemon TCG. Now, I felt like doing this video a while ago, but I also noticed that several other channels had sort of done the same video, and truth be told, I think a lot of my choices in this video will be pretty similar to what other people are saying at the end of the day, because I think just some of these cards are phenomenal and should come back, or at least be considered and brought back in different forms. But either way, as always with these sorts of videos, let me know what you think down below. Which cards would you like to see reprinted, and if there's any that I missed out on, really. So yeah, kicking things off, we have Garbodor, which is a top pick for many people, myself included. For those of you who weren't around in the Sun and Moon era, Trash Launch did 20 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. And what made this so potent is the overall HP of the game was a lot lower than it is now. Relevant Pokemon like Espeon GX had 200 HP. And for context, I think the most HP that a relevant Pokemon had was about 240, maybe 230, maybe actually 250 on Metagross GX. But yeah, typically most Pokemon had a lot lower HP than they do right now, so the damage was a lot more reasonable. Therefore, however, I would say they would need to scale this up, either doing 20 damage base or maybe switch to a 30 times modifier. It's also worth mentioning that back in the day we had stuff like Field Blower to remove two in any combination of tool cards and stadiums, and there was Choice Band around, which, tools counted as items, so that was pretty powerful. And Choice Band allowed you to do plus 30 damage to GX and EX. Not the current EX, of course, the classic EX. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I honestly wish Garbodor would come back. But yeah, I do think they would need to modify the damage slightly, either with Trash Launch doing a bit more base damage or by doing a bigger modifier. That might be scary though. 30 times can scale quite quickly, especially when you're playing items. But honestly, with the power creep we've got going on, and if the next mechanic, as in the next Roblox mechanic after like EX Pokemon, ends up being like Mega Evolution, which is like the main speculation and theory surrounding the XY sets, then potentially we'll go up to like crazy unforeseeable HP, right? In theory we could go all the way up to like 400 potentially. I don't think we will, and that's probably a video, topic for a different video. But in case they do, I do think Trash Launch should be scaled up basically. So yeah, cool card either way though. Next up is we have Silver Bangle, or a reprint of Silver Bangle in some form, because this was for the older EX. I know it's super confusing. I really wish they just rename them something else and not call them EX again. But yeah, lowercase EX is what we have now, and then uppercase EX is what it used to be. So I think they should reprint a version of Silver Bangle, because we have Choice Belt for Vs, we have Defiance Band if you're losing the game, and we have Maximum Belt for General EX. But my main issue here is, where's just the regular modifier to deal with EX Pokemon that are really powerful? I don't see it. I don't see it. Maximum Belt is an ace spec. If I'm playing an ace spec, I'd probably rather play like Prime Capture or something. And it's kind of forcing single prize decks. I know this is a super niche issue and things like that in the general scheme of things, and most competitive players won't care about this. But the thing is, Maximum Belt is a one-of. You only get one use of it, really. So it just feels bad not having like a Silver Bangle, like a Choice Belt or what's it called, Choice Band we just looked at. Just a general modifier of dealing damage, I'm kind of tired of my single prize Pokemon not doing enough damage. If you're not going to power scale their damage, at least give us a tool card that could allow us to reach higher numbers, So yeah, it feels kind of bad. Kind of wish we had another kind of plus 30 damage modifier. Next one is a no-brainer for me personally. It's Raihan. I did think about reprinting Rosa for this video, but the thing is with Rosa is it doesn't accelerate energy, and I don't think there's enough single prize attackers that attack for 1 energy or less that are simply, I know 1 energy or less is not really a thing, but 1 energy that aren't like strictly great. It's mostly just single prize attackers that take more than 1 energy that have potential, I guess. So Raihan would really help out those decks. It used to be that if you needed 1, maybe 2 energy, you'd survive, right? But I feel like you do need energy acceleration in the form of either a support or an ability, just to get away with paying for like multiple energy. So Raihan definitely, I think, should come back for single prize Pokemon. Definitely a bit more niche as a supporter for, Roblox Pokemon, but still, for single prizers, it would be much appreciated. Next up is we have probably the most controversial pick of the video, Jirachi. Now, I understand why Jirachi maybe shouldn't come back now. Not now, but at some point in the future, I think Jirachi should come back. So, Jirachi allowed you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You could take a trainer card, and then other cards were shoveled back in, and then Jirachi just put itself to sleep. And there was a tool card, which I should have got an image up for you, but it's called a skateboard, and it basically gave Jirachi free retreat, -1 retreat cost, while also allowing you to retreat even if you were asleep. So with an escape board, you could switch between multiple Jirachis. Very, very good card. Now, why I think this would be a bit too much for current standard is just how powerful Charizard already is, and I can't fathom having a built-in single prize draw engine for Charizard. It's bad enough we have Pidgeot and Bibarel, but yeah, Jirachi would probably send it over the edge. Just being able to even more consistently find rare candy would be a bit painful to deal with, finding Turos and stuff like that and one-offs, and yeah, it would be a bit brutal. But I think in the future, maybe post Charizard, after that rotates eventually, then maybe Jirachi should come back, really. I think it's a cool card. Could definitely help a lot of decks out. And yeah, pretty cool card overall. Next up, though, is we have Garbodor. Now, I understand that maybe a lot of people don't like this card, and for good reason, fair enough. If it has a tool card attached to it, it switches off all abilities, except for itself, and other Garbotoxins, technically. But either way, I think this was actually a pretty good card for the game because it kind of just stopped very, very powerful abilities from dominating everything, which is kind of what it feels like is going on right now. There's not just Pokemon that have good attacks anymore, it's Pokemon that have good attacks and have great abilities. And I kind of miss having a bit more of a regulation to it. I still think there should be stuff like Field Blower around if we ever get Floatstone back, because I think if you're going to put all these powerful stuff back in standard like Garbodor and Floatstone, then it kind of makes sense to me to reprint Field Blower. Just go all in, basically. Reprint all the broken stuff. If you're going to commit to one thing, commit to everything. But yeah, if Floatstone comes back for Garbodor, which I think it probably should do, then they should also reprint Field Blower at that point. But yeah, I do think this Garbodor would help keep some decks in check, and the only reason I can foresee that they haven't reprinted Garbodor actually is Arceus, because Arceus, turn 2 with a Starbirth, can basically guarantee the Garbodor lock. So the meta would kind of just be Arceus with Garbodor. I know it wouldn't strictly just be that, but you can kind of see why that could be a bit problematic with like Crushing Hammers and stuff. So yeah, that to me would be quite scary to deal with. But either way, definitely think Garbodor should come back at some point in the future. Next up is we have Cynthia. I think this format is sorely lacking a really good draw supporter, and here's why. Basically, and that's not me saying that we don't have good draw supporters in standard, right? But my point is we're lacking a good shuffle draw supporter. We have like Bruno, and I guess Cynthia's Ambition as a draw-up supporter, but the thing is, if I don't have a great engine in play like Curlier or Bibarel, and my opponent's like, oh, Iodo, well, that's rough. I have to find research or something. I have to find a good supporter. Well, the choices aren't great in standard right now. Like Colress lets you look at top 5 and then you take 3. Well, that's cool, but you only get to take 3. I'd much rather just replenish my hand back up to 6, and the fact you can't really do that in standard kind of sucks a bit. I know Cynthia's Ambition sort of helps out, but it's obviously very, very bad if nothing was KO'd last turn, so kind of hopes your opponent will be aggressive, I guess, which is, truth be told, most games, but at the same time, it just feels bad not to have a regular shuffle draw 6 that I can't just play 4 of in a deck. I know that sounds really brain dead, but I do wish sometimes we had Cynthia back. I think it would be a massive help to decks. But yeah, please reprint Cynthia. Please, I'm begging you. If you do nothing else, reprint Cynthia. But lastly, I wanted to talk about Shrine of Punishment. Between turns, put a damage counter on each Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX in play. Again, they worded this in a weird way to the point where we can't actually get a direct Shrine of Reprint. It would have to be like Shrine of Punishments, Shrine of Ruins or something, I guess. Shrine of Terrestrial Ruins. Something weird like that. They could definitely work something out for Area 0, perhaps. Or actually, that's a good idea for a stadium. Area 0 stadium. Put 1 damage counter on each Pokemon in between turns. It's not a ancient or future Pokemon. But yeah, either way, Shrine of Punishment could be cool. And I think this card should come back for just general rule boxes, but The thing is with that is Pokemon, let's be real here, they like to make money. They don't want to have people just buying one copy of a card and then being able to use it for the rest of time. They do want you to be like actually buying more stuff, which is why, we get choice bands and choice belts and not just plus 30 damage to a Roblox. But, either way, Shrine of Punishment. I think this card should come back. It might make Lost Zone a bit too good again, but Lost Zone's kind of fallen off a bit. Not many people like it, but, either way, I don't think this would be so much of an issue. I mean, single price decks kind of folded to Lost Zone anyway, unless you were really tanky. So like the Ancient Box deck, I guess. But truth be told, I just think Shrine would help the game out a bit. You could argue, oof, it would help Charizard out too much, but honestly, I think it's worth it at this point. I think it's worth it. It's just worth it saying, oh, well, Charizard's more broken, but everything else gets a bit better. To be honest, I'd rather have that at this point. I'd rather have that. It's already a Charizard format. It already feels like it's going to be a Charizard format until the next equally broken or, rotation, obviously, but that's way, way off. There'll be so many sets between now and Charizard rotating, so it's not even worth considering that option. They're going to print something equally broken to Charizard, if not as broken or more broken. So, yeah, I'd rather just have Shrine to help the smaller guys, basically, do better. So, yeah. But either way, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Is there any controversial picks on here? Definitely think there might be one or two. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Is there any cards that I missed out? And yeah, thank you for watching.